Hello there. This is Cheryl Lentz, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Talk to you on Tuesday at 2. So trying to decide what I was going to do today. I decided on the Harvest Meadow, or it's called Nature's Harvest Bundle. The paper, all the papers that you can see, it's in the mini catalog. It's called Harvest Meadow. Suite. It's on page 54, 55, and 56. A 3-page layout, no doubt. Hi, Cindy. Welcome, welcome. So I decided this is such a cool set. I love the stamp set, but I also love the dies. So really fun to have that along with it. So, and in addition to that, there's a diamond weave ribbon, like a crocheted ribbon. That's really cool in there. Today I'm going to use the watercolor paper. A lot of people don't. I love the watercolor paper, and we haven't done that in a while, so I'm going to use the watercolor paper. The cork. If you have not seen the cork in person, it's really cool. I'll show you a little piece. Anyhow, we're going to make a fun card, and then I have some samples to show you, and some samples of last week when I did the dahlias, what's it called? Delicate dahlias. I cut those out and made some cards out of those. So I was going to show you that too. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We'll get started. If you're joining me, thank you for joining me live or later. It doesn't make any difference, but let me know. I'd like to talk with you. Let me know that you were here. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something else you'd like to see. Here, there's Kat. I couldn't find her before. I went into a little panic, and I was like, oh my goodness, she was here. I'm always so afraid that she never wants to go out, but I'm always afraid she's going to go out. So now I looked for her, and now she's here. Dog's under the table. Go on, Malaya. Dog's under the table, cat's on the table, and they're all watching me. So let's turn the camera around, and we will get started here. Let's see here. So we're going to go for a little ride. Close your eyes if this bothers you. There we go. Move my little, I have a new light at my desk that makes it so much easier for me. There we go. Okay. Ta-da. Hello, Linda. Linda and Cindy together. Yay. Okay, so Nature's Harvest. This is the stamp set. These are the dies that are phenomenal. So if you purchase the bundle, you know that you get 10% off. That's always a fun thing, right? So here is, let's see here. Here's the big layout. Ta-da! It's really big. So we're going to use, I'm going to show you, not on this card, but on another card, the cork board. My favorite new embossing folder is called the Time Worn Type. We're going to play with that. This paper is so rich and so beautiful. So I have that, and then they show it on this page too, where they feature and show you the ribbon. So we've got a lot to go over today because we're going to do heat embossing and watercoloring. Woohoo! So let me move this aside. I will show you the card that, oops, if I can put it here somewhere safely. So here's the card. So this uses that interesting new, we have gold and rose gold 6x6 paper that's textured. And then this, I have, you can see the little glimmer on here. I embossed the flowers with the gold, and this is that time-worn type. So I embossed that, and then we have a little piece inside, and I left it so you could just write a note, a thank you note. And I know they come with little copper gems featuring in that, or it's metallic gems, but I use the Genial Gems, and they have a little sparkle in them, and they're a little more subtle. So I thought that was kind of pretty to add a little sparkle to it. So that's what we're going to start with. First thing I'm going to do is the background here. This is a piece of watercolor paper. This is our watercolor paper, Fluid 100. You get 10 sheets in here, 5x7 for $9. And it's 100% cotton. It's very thick. It has a smoother surface. Excuse me, it has a smoother surface than our previous one. So that's what we're going to play with today. I did one ahead of time, but I have one here. So I'm going to use this. I always do everything on an angle. So here is my watercolor paper. And it's super thick. You really can't tell, but it doesn't have as much, you can see the texture on there. Hi, Robin. It's not as much texture as our previous one. And the color is a little bit different. So when I'm doing this, we also have new the water painters. So you get, there's 12 of them, you get, or 12 of them. They're $12, 3 in a pack. But they have different tips, so I want to show you that. So this one, because I'm going to be doing a big background, I'm going to use this wide flat brush tip. So there we go. It's just, you just unscrew it, fill it with the base with water, and you're good to go. And then they have, let's see here, this is the medium tip. And then they have a fine tip. So it's just shorter, smaller, you know, well, hence the name fine tip. So you get all 3 of these in a package for $12, and they're lots of fun. But the key to doing this and the key to doing the watercoloring is to use the correct materials. So you can use the shimmer paper or the watercolor paper is what I would suggest. If you don't, our other paper, it'll just, the water kind of rolls off, the ink kind of sits in. This way you have room to play with it and kind of spread the colors around. So I'm going to use the flat tip one first. I'm going to get my paints ready. I'm using Misty Moonlight, Bumblebee, and Just Jade. So what I want to do is I want to use that as my palette. So I turn it around and I just press down with my hand, the palm of my hand, and there we go. So now I have some ink on there. I'm going to use that as my palette. So I'm going to do that on all 3 of them. Here we go. There. Ta-da, ta-da. And Just Jade. So we're going to create a little background, and then we're going to do some heat embossing. So there we go. So what I do first, I have my paper here. I'm going to squeeze a little water out on here. It's just plain tap water. I'm not doing anything special. You squeeze it and it goes down into the barrel. And I'm just going to wet my paper. You don't have to have it really wet, but I think the paint moves around easily if you start out with it with some dampness on the paper. And then I'm going to come over here and get some of my blue. Just pull some up. And I'm just going to start swiping it. So it will, you can go in streaks, you can cover the whole thing, you can go back and add, like if you want some other color, and you can see how it just kind of disperses, but it gives it a real neat texture to do that, you know, kind of a different look. So remember, I'm creating a background, right, for my flowers. So then I'm just going to go down. If you want it lighter, you have a little more at the end here where it's just more water with a little bit of color, and then it just gets lighter and lighter. Okay, to go to the next color, I want to go to my yellow. There's a spot on here where it says push, so I'm just going to push it. I'm going to let the water come down into the barrel, and I'm going to wipe until it's clear, and then I'm going to put some of my yellow in here. So pick up my yellow and go over this as much as I want, and I'm going up into here. I'm going up into, I have a hair on there. That's, thank you, Kat. I'm going to put a little more water on my little table here. There we go. And I'm going right up into the blue. So you can see it's a little bit of a greenish tint when you do that. Tint to it. Tint. I'm thinking camping, I guess. Carl and the kids, my oldest and his boys, were all camping this weekend. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up a little green. I left a little space for the green. I'm adding a little more water to the base here. I think you can see that because I want to have it a little bit lighter color because that's so intense. So I'm just going to go over it. Whoop. Squishing out some water here. I'm going to put a little more in there. There. Ta-da. There we go, and I went over the yellow a little bit. So there's our paper. Now I'm going to squeeze this. So I'm going to emboss on this area. So I would, when you put this back on, make sure that the brush is nice and you don't catch your brush in the top of the cap. So I just kind of make sure it's tight And I just kind of push it in like that. There we go, to protect those ends. So here we go. Here's my sheet that we're gonna use. Ta-da. But I need to let that dry well. You can see that it bends up, and that's okay. When you glue it down, it'll go back down, and also I'm going to be embossing on it. So I went ahead and did another one from the magic of television. Here's my one that I did earlier, just so that I had one dried. I actually like this one better because the green is a little bit darker, but this is the one I'm going to use right now. So we're going to do a little embossing, which we haven't done that in a while. I don't know that I've ever done the embossing online. I'm going to put this on here. So I have my dried piece of watercolor paper. Here's my stamp that I'm going to emboss on, and I'm using Versamark. This is the one that I had in there. And the pads get kind of ugly looking, but it's okay. They still work. It's all right. So I'm just going to tap down. I am going to go across this a little bit with an embossing buddy. I don't know that we have these anymore. A lot of people have them. They're like resin bags if you're a bowler. That's what it's like. There's just a powder. I also use this sometimes if you get sticky glue, if you can powder it and it's no longer sticky. So I went over it a little bit. I'm going to go over with my Versamark, which is a sticky ink. There we go. And then I'm just going to press down on my cardstock. And the picture is bigger than what I'm doing, so it's going to go off the sheet, and that's okay. So I'm just going to give it a minute, let it just press it gently. I don't want to squeeze it too hard, push it down too hard, just gentle. And look, it's like magic. There's nothing there. So we're going to take our embossing. I have gold stamping embossing powder. And that is going to stick to our, so it'll be like magic. So you just pour it over. You can pour it over, don't have to worry about anything. You're only using a tiny little bit, and you're going to put it back in there. And then I like to flick off all the extra. There we go. Ta-da! So now I have my little part that we're going to emboss. This is like one of the most exciting things when I first started was heat embossing. And we've kind of gotten away from it a little bit, but it's so much fun, especially now with the holidays coming up. It's a great way to give a wow. So here is my flower that I have embossed. If you push too hard, the lines kind of get blurred. And this is a very fine tipped or fine design. So now we're going to cook it. We're going to cook it right now. Okay. So what I do is I just kind of hold it down with something, and then I'm just going to come in here and I let the heat tool just kind of sit until it starts melting that embossing powder. And once it starts melting, it's sort of like a river just kind of going up. And then I move it along the way. You can see it starts getting shiny all over. The parts that are dull is where I haven't gone yet. You don't want to do like overheat it. It will just kind of sink into the paper. But you can see I'm just kind of gradually going along. I'll raise it up so you can see. Most of you have heat embossed, or a lot of you have. If you haven't, you're missing something because it's really fun. First of all, the picture is you can't even see it until you put the powder on and heat it up. So it's sort of like it's magic. There we go. Okay, all done. That's all it takes. A little minute. And so let me raise this up and then you can see. Hi, Jean. There we go. See that? So it's just kind of embossed. So the neat thing about embossing is that now I can go back with my water painters. We called them something different before. That's why I'm pausing every time I use that. So we're going to go back with our water painters. And I'm going to paint these in. Now you could leave it just like this and it looks kind of cool. But I decided at the end that I wanted to fill that in. So again, I just have a piece of paper towel here. And because the lines are so delicate, I'm going to use the fine tip. And I'm just going to make sure I have water in the barrel there. And then I'm just going to pick up my colors. I'm moving this all over the place, I know. So here we're going to use the yellow for my flowers. So this is Bumblebee. And the cool thing is when you color in here, the embossing powder keeps it in place. So you can have light and dark. You can get some shading in here. You can do some different things. But that embossing is raised, so that pretty much keeps all the color in your petal. There we go. So see, I got a little bit darker there. I'm just going to add a little more water, and there we go. Here we'll go over here to these petals and just color that in. It's just kind of subtle. Even though I have the colored background, you can still go in and color your flowers in. It goes pretty fast. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next color. So I'm going to squeeze the water out of the barrel. I can close this up. Done with that one. Done with the blue Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to use the Just Jade and color in the stems. So that gives it a little brighter tone here. And with the fine tip, it's very easy to go along these edges and just color that in. You know, you don't have to re-ink every time, and you could also go with blends, but I'll tell you right now, if you were doing this with a blend with this paper, it'll just suck that color in. You'll be drying up your blends. You don't want to. This works a lot nicer here to. There we go. On this very porous, more porous paper. I mean, it's 100% cotton. It's made to do this. Ta-da! It's so much fun. And this is one of those projects where each one will look a little bit different, all beautiful, but each different, you know, depending on how much color you want to put in. Now, if you want to go in by your leaves and add a little more accent here and there, you can go and do that. Adding in a little bit of color, just kind of along the edges. And it just gives it more accent, a little bit, yeah. Ta-da! There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to just squeeze this out because I have to do the tip of the flower. And on that I used my soft suede, one of my favorite browns. So you can see I had already done this, so just a little tiny bit of soft suede to color in the tops of my flowers. There we go. There, just a little bit. Ta-da. Okay. Ta-da, ta-da. There. Now I'm going to put the cover back on here, if I can find it. Where'd I put it? Sure I am. Maybe. Let's put this away. Oh, here it is. I'm going to use that soft suede, so I really don't need to cover that up yet. So here we go. I'm going to put the cover back on. Ta-da. Okay. So that part is done. So we've done watercoloring and heat and embossing, and it gives it just kind of a fun texture. So the other thing is, here's my other pieces. Now I wanted to add, I like that glitz and glimmer, and I love this. So I wanted it to look, it almost looks like when I looked at this and got it all finished, this is a small piece because they are 6 by 6, and you want to use them wisely, right? So I didn't want a piece all the way across because all this underneath here you wouldn't see anyway. But to me, it almost looks like, it reminds me of shutters, like looking through a window and you're looking out at the flower. I just think so. And then here is my, so we're going to use that pretty gold textured paper. And then here is my DSP. Look at the backside, love it. I love this Harvest Meadow DSP. But I did already emboss this with that embossing folder. Where did I put that? I love this embossing folder. So this is, it's a big one, and it's called Time Worn Type. And it's a really deep embossing. So I did it on here, and I thought it still needs to show a little bit more. So you can see how is much more pronounced on the card itself than right here. And how I did that was, ta-da, I brought over my brushes. I'm going to move some. I had some of this stuff over here so I wouldn't make such a big mess on my paper today. So I used my brush here. Ta-da! Our blending brushes. Love them. So here is my, this time I'm going to use the ink pad, but I just want to go over it very lightly. So what I do is I brush on my pad and I start off of the object that I want to go on to. And I just gently brush over that surface, really lightly. So I start off and then go over. This is the rule. The rule is you can always add more color, but you can't really take it off unless you start over. And you don't want to do that. You're using a nice piece of designer paper, and so you don't want to, you know, do that. But this makes that accented embossing folder and that texture just show through nicer. So I'm just causing that to be highlighted by just gently rubbing on here. It kind of has an old look to it. I just think it's really cool. So I'm just adding a little at a time, taking my time. You're probably like, hurry up. I'm just taking my time, kind of going through and highlighting the raised edges. I don't need to go into the center because you're going to have the flower in the center. So there we go. I think we're all set there. Okay, so there's my using the brush here. Also, I have one more thing on here. I already went and cut this out. So I used thank you. I stamped the thank you from the Harvest Meadow stamp set, but in the Misty Moonlight. But I wanted to, this would look so bright on here. And so I wanted to soften it up a bit. And to soften it up, I took what was left on my blending brush and I just kind of went over the edges. You can touch it a little bit. And I just wanted to have it kind of aged. So I aged it a bit with my blending brush. There we go. I like that. I think it looks better. It looks better. There we go. Okie dokie. I'm going to move this aside. We can start putting some of these pieces together. So here is my Misty Moonlight. And here's my textured paper. So I am going to go ahead and put this on with my green glue. So I go about maybe a 1/4 to 1/8 inch away from the edge when I'm adding glue, and that's, I don't go into the center usually. I just kind of, there we go. Put it on the edge. Remember that it squishes. It squishes, so that little bit you put on is squishing out. It's squishing around and giving it a nice base. So there we go with that. Now I have Misty Moonlight, and here's my piece that we just did. So I am going to glue this on. So this one I will put a little bit more on because this is thicker paper and we've kind of abused it a bit with putting water on it and then heat embossing it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to line it up here on the edge. I have a very fine line around this one, and then just hold it down. A lot of times we use like a 1/4 inch, you know, so you have an 1/8 inch all the way around. This one I did a little bit less. I wanted more of the DSP behind it to show, and I wanted to put some of that glitz and glimmer on it. So here is my card, my little focus here. And then I have my glimmer pieces. So I want to put those in about the same distance back and forth, right? So I'm just going to put these here like this on the same line here. Ta-da. So I'm going to put my adhesive just on the edge here, on one edge. And then I'm going to move this over So I'm going over one, I'm watching the grid, and I'm going over one bar on there. And I can move it around, but I want to do that so that I get it even, because I want it even with the other, my other piece on the other side too, so that they're not, there we go, ta-da. Okay, now I'm going to put my adhesive over here, just like that. And again, I'm going over one bar. I'm trying to kind of line it up, and I can play with that when I get there. There we go. But using that graph works very well. Okay, ta-da. I have those glued in. So because this is one kind of a bigger unit, I'm going to glue the whole piece down onto the card base. So we can go ahead and do that. I am going to have part of it raised up, of course, the verse. That's what I generally do. And I'm just going to lay that down. Hopefully it's centered. Whoops. Pretty good. And I'm just going to give it a little press. Because remember, it's not going on a flat, even surface. This one is textured underneath. And it's got a little bit of a bulk. So there we go. Ta-da. Now I also did a piece of the texture, and I went over it with the soft suede for the inside. You know, sometimes I'll put DSP in, and this time I did follow the same thing where I put the DSP in, but I put a little bit of this you can use just scraps on. It's just a 1/2 inch by 5, but this does have words on it, so I would be careful not to put them on upside down. I had to turn that around. You can't see all the words, but you can see some of them, so I would watch that when I put it in, just to make sure you have them all going the right direction. There we go, a little bit of glue. So this was Misty Moonlight and Bumblebee combination. There, I like that. So I just pulled that blue out. When I did this piece, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I knew I wanted this DSP, but I wasn't sure what color the base was going to be or what was going to go around it. And I decided I would pull that out after using it on the skyline there. So here we go. A little bit of glue. We'll put the inside in. And here's the piece that we did earlier. It's all dry now. So it doesn't take all that long, but I have it a little bit more brilliant than this one, but so fun. So fun to play around and just do whatever on that, using that watercolor paper. You could also do that and just put splotches of all different colors on, whatever you wanted to do, and then cut out using the dies. Cut out the flowers or the whatever you want to cut out, and then using that on there. I'll show you. I have one where I used the flower, just the single flower die, colored it in. So there we go. Now I want to put my words on here. So I used dimensionals on that. So let's pull that up. I use 3 of them. I like to use a lot of dimensionals. I know some people, I see them and it's like, oh, what's good for me. I'll even tell people in class, no, put some more on. Put some more on. I like it when there's a little bit more on. Like right in between here, I'm going to go down. It fits from the blue edge from the Misty Moonlight, kind of edge to edge there. And then I used Genial Gems. So this is how I keep mine. I have them in my box here. This is what the Genial Gems look like. They have this clear with glimmer, and then they have the green tone with some glimmer in it. So I have mine right here. And my little pickup tool here. And I put a bigger one down here at the bottom. I always, the bigger ones, if I'm going to put it on, I'm going to, and this is already bumped up, I'm going to put it on the lowest part, just because if I was mailing this with these gems in here, I would take a piece of plain cardstock and lay it over the top and then put it in the envelope, just to make it safe so you don't crush it or have anything else happen with it. Keeps it safe. Here we go. We'll put one up here. There. Ta-da. So there we go. There's that one. I'm going to put this in here. That card is all done. Pretty easy. So we watercolored and heat embossed, and we got that done pretty quickly. So there's that first card. So I was playing with some more using that. So here's another one. And this one I used, they show on there that crocheted ribbon. And on this one, it's $10. You get 10 yards, it's $10. But you can cut this. You can cut this in half. And I like this kind of frayed look. So that's what I do. You're getting then twice as much. And I like this sort of frayed look. On here, I did use the watercolor paper, and I did use the water painters to color in my... And I also used that textured embossing folder again. So you can see that, but on the very dark, oh, thank you, Linda, on that very dark color. Now here is that cork. I used a little touch of that cork. Let's see what I did. And then inside I just stamped flowers so you could, because the verse says, sending healing thoughts, may nature's beauty bring peace to your soul. I just thought that was pretty. And this has a really light, interesting background with the soft succulent and some writing on there. But the cork comes in, it's super soft and pliable, and it has some texture to it. You see where there's some shiny? That's kind of like holes. It has texture to it. It comes in 12 by 12 sheets like this. So you could cut it either way. I tend to go against the stripe, so I cut my 1 inch off here, and I've used that on a couple of different cards. But it's really soft and pliable and fun. So it's 2 sheets for $5. This is one of those things that you're going to use every little bit of, so you'll use up all of it. So I think it's a fun accent piece. I think it would make nice man cards too. So here's the second one I did, and then I did this one. So this one I used on the one we did today. This is the gold textured paper. I think it's called, what is it called? Cork, diamond weave. I didn't even write, oh, gold. It's called gold and rose gold paper, but it has that nice texture. Here's the rose gold. I thought it was kind of fun to pair it up with the polished pink and the expressions in ink paper, because that's got the little gold veining through it too. Now this one, it was a little bit fresher, so I did the background again with the watercolor, with the water painters, with the watercolor paper. So I'm using rose gold and gold. I'm using both. I thought it was kind of interesting to kind of put it together. This soft gold shimmer ribbon, so much fun. And then in the inside, this set has the little dots, and I just added that to accent it. So here's the other one. Okay, and then I have one more. So I did a sympathy card, and here's my 1 inch piece of cork. So I used one piece here, and I still have a piece to use that I will use somewhere. And so on this one, I did the time worn, but I did not use the blending brush on it. I just kind of left it as is. But then I have the dies cut. When I did these dies, these 3 come together, these long dies. When I put them on here with the rose gold, I cut them apart so that I could move them around. You see how it's just straight here? Here they're kind of going off in different directions. That's because I cut them apart. And then this is a separate die. It kind of just goes out into the picture. And again, I used just a strip of the cardstock with the time worn embossing on it. So there we go. These are, they're all kind of different. I should move this one away from this one because it's, there we go. Ta-da! All using that set. This stamp set is a different one. The stamp set is, the words are from Inspired Thoughts, which is another nice, nice set that has a combination of all different words. I mean, it goes from Christmas to just thank you to sympathy cards. A nice stamp set, varied verses on there. So there we go. That's that. This is how the gold comes. The gold and the rose gold come in a 6x6 pack. And you can see I keep all the tiny pieces because I will use that as a tab. I'll put it somewhere. I save everything and use all of these little specialty pieces. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So on Friday, I did tips on the dazzling, or the, not dazzling, delicate dahlias. So I had a couple little tips on stamping this two-step. I still have it on my desk. So this one right here. So I did a couple of tips on that, and I stamped some cards. I cut out the flowers, and then I did some leaves, and I cut out the leaves, and I made a couple of sympathy cards with that. Here are the gold, the metallic things from the Nature's Bounty, Nature's Harvest, that collection of goods. So here was the one that I stamped in Poppy Parade, but it was the second stamp. Here's the first one. Here's the second one, much lighter. So, and then I put a leaf, just put a leaf inside. Ta-da! This one I put 2 leaves in, just kind of framed it in. So that's what I did with the ones that I stamped on Friday. So I was busy. So here we go. Here's all of our cards for the day. Most of them using the Harvest Meadow stamps. And the dahlias. Ta-da! All right, I am going to turn this around. And let's see here. Get the right button. Come back around here. Ooh, hello. All right, so that's it for today. I thought that was a fun, this set is really fun. The dies are beautiful, whether you use them with the set or not, but it's always well to get them together as a bundle, because then you can, it just makes you have more things to play with. So that's a good thing. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, I'm hoping today to put together a new, oh good, thanks Jean, I'm glad you liked it. I want to put together a new monkey cut kit. I do have the Blackberry Beauty monkey cut kits here and available. For those that had ordered them, I mailed them out yesterday, so they'll come through the post office. So be looking for that. It's supposed to be, I mailed them yesterday. It's supposed to be 1 to 3 days. So they should be arriving at your doorstep at any day now. If you want one, let me know. And oh, it just got there. Oh, good. So yeah, other than that, I think I'm all set. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully with a new monkey cut kit. And thank you for joining me. Please share the video. Please send it around. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're up to like 420. I'm really excited. So thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Bye-bye.